Cool. So for those of you who don't know, Erin is the owner of AZUR Fit, which is a women's apparel fitness brand. She started the company by herself and has since taken the fitness industry by a storm, particularly in Canada. But I don't want to give away too much. So Erin, I'll jump in with the first question, which is the easy one. When did you start AZUR Fit? And can you tell us a little bit about the early days of starting your company?
Yes, for sure. Okay, so I started in August of 2018. So it's been a little bit over 2 years, 2.5 years. And not a lot of people know this, but I started the business with my sister. And we owned a business together. We owned a yoga studio together, and we did that for 7 years. We had a pretty big following with our studio, and we trained in LA in California. And while we trained in LA, we noticed a style of tank top that all the girls in LA were wearing that wasn't really popular here in Toronto yet. I call it the muscle tank. So it's basically just like a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off with scissors and then cropped. You just crop it with scissors. So when we came back to Toronto, we started cutting up our old t-shirts and stuff. And then all of our yoga students would be like, where'd you get that tank top? Where'd you get that tank top? And that went on for like 2 years. Like we would find vintage ones and cut them up, or we'd go to the mall and find like the best ones and we cut them up. And then people eventually started to be like, you guys need to start a tank top line because you guys have the best tank tops. So then after like everybody had been telling us to do that for like a year, we were like, we should do this. So we did that. We started the brand. Actually, it was called AZUR Tank. We were just one-stop shop for tank tops. And then my sister ended up becoming a police officer. And because AZUR was kind of like our side hustle, we ended up selling the studio. I went full-time with AZUR. We took her off the ownership and she went into policing. So then it was just me. Launched the tank tops. Everything was cropped. And at that time, high-waisted leggings were just kind of starting to become more popular. I was also a Lululemon ambassador. So I had the chance to try on like all the different kinds of leggings. You get
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, when you're an ambassador, you get an allowance every year. So they give you tons of leggings and stuff. So I was kind of first like hop on the high-waisted legging bandwagon. And with the crop tops, it's kind of awkward to wear like a low cut pant with the crop tops. So people would be like, what do we wear with our crop tops? And it was like, okay, we need to make a good pair of high-waisted leggings. So I did that. And then they became the bread and butter of the business, really.
That's really cool. Sorry if you hear a siren in the background. That's really interesting. I didn't actually know that startup story, how you had the yoga studio. And then it sounds like this business just sort of spurred out of necessity, like people seeing the cool products that you could make, and then you went ahead and executed. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So for a successful e-commerce owner like yourself, what do you do now normally in a typical day? And what would you say is your favorite part of your job?
So a typical day is coming into the office. I usually start by packing all my orders for the day. It could be anything from doing like Zoom calls with people I'm collaborating with. There's always lots of admin and emails to do. Sounds funny, but truly part of my job is making TikToks. So I try to put at least one TikTok a day, which can be difficult when you're not feeling creative. But yeah, there's just always stuff to do with the business. It doesn't end. And then I go home and it's usually communicating with my manufacturer at night. They're in China. So I'm usually from like 10 to 12 or sometimes 1, working with them on revisions for samples and things like that. And you just have to move very quickly. So yeah, it just kind of never ends, but it's like morning emails, come to the office, pack the orders, do the admin, go home. And then it's usually communicating with my manufacturer at night.
I think that's something that people sometimes underestimate is how many moving pieces there are in an e-commerce business. And this isn't like, just starting up your drop shipping products. I mean, you're owning inventory, you're looking at quality control, you manage these relationships with your customers. Like there's so many moving pieces to it. So yeah, it sounds like every day is probably bringing its own surprises.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite part of it is like, I don't feel like it's work, like really ever. There's the odd thing that I don't like doing, but I just feel like it's like a hobby because it's kind of what it started out as, a hobby to see if we can do this and make some money. And it's still just like my full-time hobby is what I feel like I'm doing. So I love that about it.
That's cool. Yeah, it's got to feel nice to wake up with that passion every day.
Yeah.
So you've developed really strong relationships with your customers. And I think it's something that a lot of brands admire. I know that anybody who tries your products, like absolutely adores it. They rave about it. Your social media goes crazy with testimonials all the time. So what do you think has set your products and your brand apart from other companies in the apparel space?
Well, I think that we have amazing products. Our quality is top notch. I really pride myself on that. And also customer relationships, like starting a dialogue with your customers, becoming their friends, like answering the DMs and chatting with them. And even with the TikToks, like answering the comments and connecting with other people that are doing what you're doing or that kind of stuff. So I think those two things are really important, relating to customers and having really great products. But also I think it's staying on top of the trends in fashion, but also just in general. So try to be on top of the colors that are trending, be ahead of the times with the colors that are trending. But even just things like the way I make my models stand in photo shoots, or the little buzzwords that I'm using in captions. There's always a few trending words, you know, like they're maybe stemming from TikTok or whatever else, and
Right.
just using that and connecting with them, making them feel like this company is young, it's hip, it's creating something we haven't seen before, it's on top of all of those trends. So I think that kind of has a lot to do with it too. And I try to keep myself up to date on what's happening in the fashion industry, but also like mainstream culture.
For sure. Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I look at your company and when I first discovered you, it looks like you weren't following trends. You're often just setting them yourselves. Like I now see other smaller startup fitness brands that are looking to you and sometimes copying what you're doing, because you have gone ahead and set these trends that now other people are starting to follow. So I think that's interesting. And it definitely speaks to like you as a visionary and as a business owner. I think you've done an excellent job at setting that up.
Thank you.
You've grown pretty quickly. Have you been surprised at how quickly your company grew?
Yes and no. I mean, actually in the beginning, my sister and I, when we started it, we're like, we're going to start one of those viral Instagram companies, like back a few years ago when you could go viral on Instagram. And we're like, yeah, we'll go viral. It's fine. So I kind of always had that idea in my head of like quick growth, but then I think I realized quickly that doesn't really happen. Like you have to get very lucky to go viral, especially on Instagram. It's a lot of hard work, but I don't really give myself the option to not excel or grow or succeed. So I'm always on top of like, what can we do to grow the business? Like what can I put in to make it bigger? And yes, it has grown very fast and I'm very happy with it. And sometimes I'm like, how did this happen? It was just like a tornado. But then I'm also always just like, well, I want to be bigger. I want to reach more people. I want to get into communities that we're not in yet. So I'm always thinking about how we can do that. So yes, it surprised me, but I'm not surprised that I'm kind of always striving for that.
Right. You don't indulge in where you are now because you're always looking forward to where you can be.
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying that I really like, which I think applies to you, which is the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I think that's really applied to you, because it's easy for someone to look at you and think, oh, wow, that looks easy. Like she started a fitness brand and now it's blown up. But what people don't see is the amount of hours and the hard work and dedication that you put in on the background to actually get to this point.
Yeah. And especially because it started as a side hustle. I had my full-time job. I ran a yoga studio. I taught yoga multiple times every day. And yeah, it's a lot of work to juggle the two. And now going full-time with it, it's just like it never ends. So I agree with that quote.
Yeah, that's a tough transition to make, to go from your full-time gig, which has been making you money and that's what you rely on for income, to being able to switch to something like this.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people that are going through the similar transition right now?
Yeah, I would say don't quit your job if you have one. You definitely need to have a job or some kind of income while you start your business. That's really important. And I would also say don't take any money. I didn't take a single cent out of my business until about 1.5 years into it. I just kept reinvesting the profit back into the business. I was lucky because I had my yoga studio. I had that income from my studio. So yeah, if you can have a full-time job or at least a good part-time job and not take any money out of your business bank account until you can look at your bank account and be like, if I take a salary or a paycheck, I won't really notice it.
Right,
That
right.
would be my advice.
Okay, that's good advice. So keep your job so you can pay your bills and then reinvest all of your profits back into your business and just try to grow as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Good advice. How has COVID affected your business, like positively or negatively?
Um, Positively, there's definitely a lot more online shopping. With malls being closed and people not wanting to go out, there's definitely been a huge spike in online shopping. And I definitely saw it back in like March, April when it all started. So I think we have had a lot of growth for that reason during this time. But then within our supply chains, things have become more expensive, especially like shipping from overseas.
Interesting.
Typically to ship 1,000 pairs of leggings from China, I would normally pay a couple thousand. Now it could be like 5,000 or 6,000 to get those leggings over here. So
Wow, no kidding.
yeah, we do take a hit with shipping for sure.
Is that the cost of manufacturing or primarily shipping that's killing you there?
Shipping, just shipping from China right now is very, very expensive. Even shipping Canada Post and USPS, the different carriers have all increased their rates. So my customers pay a calculated rate at checkout from those carriers, but those have increased too. So there's a lot of little price increases that have gone on within our supply chain that affect us. But on the other hand, there's been a huge spike in online shopping. So that's great too.
Right. Yeah. Good and bad. Has that shipping time also affected your lead times? Like, do you need to project how much longer it's going to take you for you to get your inventory now?
Back in like May, I would say like May through August, there were a lot of delays with China just kind of figuring out COVID because they were obviously the first one to get it.
Right.
But now it seems like everything's back to normal time-wise. Like everybody's working, shipping is going quite quickly. I can get an air shipment within like 3 days. So it doesn't really affect the time. It's more the cost.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So where was your business at before we started running your paid ads and before we started working together? And at what point did you realize that you needed a marketing agency to help you out?
So when we started working together, I was pretty much 2 years into the business and it was all organic Instagram growth. I had started my TikTok, I'm going to say like May or June, and I got some growth in sales from my TikTok, but really Instagram, organic Instagram growth was all I had until we met in August. So I was there and I had been thinking about doing ads and I'd been telling myself like, I really want to do ads. But when you run a business, you're doing so many things every day yourself that ads was one of the things that I kept being like, I'll do that next week. I'll do that next week. I'll do that next week. And I never got around to doing it until one day, a friend of mine who also has an e-commerce business, I was like, you know, I'm going to do ads. I'm going to find someone tonight. And I went into my email and in my email, I get these all the time. People who want to run my Facebook ads, people who want to like run my marketing, and they reach out to you seeing if you want to work with them. I always ignore them. I never answer them. I delete them. But you had emailed me that day and I was like, well, let's check it out.
Okay. Good timing, I guess, on our end.
Yeah, I went to your Instagram and I saw your highlights showing the back end of the ads manager and what you were doing for your other clients and things like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just email them back and maybe we can do a call. We did a call and we got started.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, good timing for us. And that really worked out because I love working with your company.
I wish I had done ads sooner, but I also think just by chance, I got a little bit lucky because I do feel like a new business jumping into ads is not always a good idea. I think that customers like to investigate a little bit. They'll click on your Instagram. They'll see if you have a little bit of like social proof and a following. They'll go to your website. They want to see that you do have some reviews and things like that. So I think it's kind of good to start the ads a little bit later when you do have some proof and some reviews and things like that. So I think it was a perfect time for me to get going.
I agree. It's interesting you brought that up. I'm glad you did, because for people that are just starting out, that don't have a following yet, that haven't made 100 sales yet, and they're just starting to work things out, it's easy to look at paid ads because it's almost an easy way out, right? You can put $1 in and make 3 back. But having a brand and having a following like you do has amplified your growth significantly more than if you didn't have that following and we started to run paid ads. So for people
Yeah,
just getting started, like you need to put in the work and put in the time before you can really add fuel to the fire.
yeah, I totally agree.
Awesome. So last question for you. What are your future plans for AZUR Fit? Where do you see it in the next couple of years down the road?
So we really want to kind of be the gap between fitness and fashion. I think COVID has even really blown up the fashion industry in different ways, and COVID has really affected the fashion industry in different ways. That's given us an opportunity to be that link between fitness clothing that is also comfortable, but you can wear it to work. You can dress
Right.
it up with some jewelry. You can dress it down, and it's very versatile. So that's what I think I want for 2021 is to focus on making more versatile products and being that link between fitness and fashion. I think with like all the gyms being closed and that side of the fitness industry being up and down, it's nice to be versatile with those products. So that I really want to do TikTok ads for 2021.
For
Um,
sure. We should definitely talk about that.
we will for sure. I think that will be a big spike in growth when I do that because I do have
Yeah.
that big TikTok following, and I think we can put together something that feels really organic, that my followers and other people will relate to. So I really want to do that for 2021.
Awesome. That's perfect. Well, I think your customers are going to be pretty excited about all the new products, everything else that you have in store coming up this year.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Awesome, Erin. Well, that tops it off for me. Thanks so much for joining me and telling us about your business, giving us this run through. It's so much fun working with you, just watching your company grow. So yeah, thanks for having us along the journey with you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brock. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Erin. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.